Hi everyone, this is Nathan D. Tracy and I'll be your host today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The purpose of this webinar is to bring you a little bit of confidence and some tools that you can walk into somebody's living room and present them the business. And so we're going to start out here with a few things that I thought were interesting and that I thought you should know. One being knowing kind of where Advocare came from. We're a 20-year-old debt-free company. And the last 2 years, Advocare has grown by more than 50% in revenue. Now this is important because you need to know basically where this company is going. And so each year, that's the last 2 years, we've grown 50% each year. So keep that in mind when you're talking to people and understand that, you know, that's going to be something big when you're talking to them about a business that they want to get involved in. Another one that you can add, we doubled the diamonds. And diamond is basically a pay scale that is on the upper level of Advocare. And prior to this last year, we had 20 diamonds in Advocare, and we now have 46 by the beginning of this year. So that shows the amount of growth and that people are growing throughout the company. It's not just some people making money at the top and the other ones working. This is showing how the company is basically flourishing and growing a crop of people that are coming up, and the next one can be you, and the next one can be the person that you're presenting to. Also know that Advocare pays 60 cents on the dollar. So when you're talking to somebody, you know, they understand how much Advocare is actually putting out there, and so 60 cents on the dollar is big, and especially in the economy that we're sitting in. It's one of the best paid. It is the best paid as far as direct marketing. So some other statistics that I thought were interesting that you can definitely use out there when you're talking about the opportunity is that 50% of America right now makes less than $26,000 annually. That's huge, guys, because when you think about that, I mean, I'm going to show you at the end of this presentation how you can make an $80,000 salary in a time of 90 days. So when you're talking to somebody about, you know, what the potential is here, you know, throwing that out there is huge. Knowing that how many jobless people are out there, 26 million people are seeking jobs at this point. But what I thought was more interesting is actually that 3.2 million jobs need to be filled. So what does that tell you? That tells you that there's a lack of money for people to educate themselves in order to get these jobs. So that's kind of where we come in, because we can allow on-job training for a small investment that they're putting into the business. They can build a business that makes a lot more than these annual salaries out here where people are going for 4- and 6-year educations. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, so discount levels. I want to talk to you about this because I feel this is very important when starting off. A lot of people come into the business and they're scared about talking about the business, and they start with the very lowest that people can get involved in, and that's not the right way to go, because what we want to do is we want to speak with power, right? And how do you do that? You talked about, well, how to maximize your profits. Okay, so when we bring somebody into the business, we want to talk about them going right to advisor, because the speed of the leader is going to determine the speed of the pack. Okay, so if you guys think about this, if you guys go into a meeting and you talk about going right to advisor, paying $3,000, right? That's $3,000 in profit, or I apologize. That's $3,000 in product, but they're actually only paying $2,100 because on that first investment they're going to get 30% off. So if you see at the top of the screen, the green bar shows that they can maximize their profits and get actually make $900, which then is your job to turn around and help them to sell that product, make that $900 profit. Okay, if somebody says that they are going to have trouble doing that, this is usually when I come in and say, well, let's talk about a credit card, because for a credit card, what's the highest interest level at this point? 18% right now is about the highest. So even if it took them a year, which it's not going to, because our turnaround on product usually for this size of a investment usually is about 2 to 4 weeks, because we're getting them excited. We have specific plans that we're going to be talking about, right? But let's say it took them a year, okay? 18%, well, they're going to make a 30% profit. So they're still going to be making what they're paying on their card plus some. So even if it took them a year, it would be a smart investment with what's out there today, right? If they say they can't do that, then I take them down to the next notch, which is going to be the red bar, okay? So $1,500, I'm going to talk about investing $1,500, getting that much product. They still can actually maximize their profits because they'll still be getting a 30% discount. So they'll be paying just over $1,000 and then working their way to advisor the rest of the way, right? Because it takes $3,000 to get there. If for some reason they can't do that, I'm just going to go right down the line. I'm going to go to the next one, 500. Now, why is 500 an important number? It's because I'm going to show you in the next slide. If you're going to build a business, you have 3 pay periods to get to $3,000, 3 consecutive pay periods. The minimum is $500 in order to roll it into the next pay period, okay? If they're not willing to put in $500, they're probably not really looking at it as a business. And also the investment, right, because they're still getting a 25% discount, is going to be $375. So $375 is coming out of their pocket. They're going to be making a profit of $125. If they're not willing to do that, then they're probably just going to be product users, okay? Occasionally, you're going to have somebody that just doesn't have the money. And so they'll get in, they'll do the $79, they'll sign up, and then you're going to have to show them how to work their way there. Let me get to the next slide. Sorry, guys. Okay, next slide. So this is going to talk about how to get to advisor, okay? You have to get $3,000 in 3 consecutive pay periods, so it can add up to $3,000, with a minimum being $500. So if you look at the bottom, the rule is anything under $500, and it goes back to 0. So there's going to be, whoever got you onto this call, if you're not familiar with your back office, have them pull up your advisor pre-qualification report, and they're going to basically bring you through that and explain how that works, because basically that's how our business makes money, is helping people get to advisor. So that will be a report that you'll use quite often, okay? I'm going to bring you through these examples. So example 1, they go right to advisor. They pay the $3,000. That's pretty cut and dry. Example 2, they pay $1,500. Remember I talked about before, they're still maximizing their profit, right? But then they're going to have to work that other $1,500 off, so we're going to have to get more people involved. So usually, you know, the $1,500, what that's going to do is that's going to create them having supplements in front of people. It's going to get people excited, and then you're going to take the next step, try to get those people on what the next program is, what they need next, get more people, start having them invite their friends, that type of thing, and you're going to work your way to advisor getting that second half. If they do their minimum of $500, they got 2 pay periods to get the rest of it, right? So example number 3, they do $500 the first time, they do $1,500 the second time, and then they close it out with $1,000, getting to advisor, okay? Example 4, this is where you're going to use that advisor pre-qualification report, and this is what you're going to always be watching for. The first pay period, they did $1,000. The second pay period, they did $1,000, right? That first one, they're looking to do $500 because maybe they couldn't get too many people involved. And what happens is you can roll into a 4th pay period, but the first one drops off, okay? But if I was looking at this report, I would be calling that person up, because what happens if that first one drops off? They're losing $1,000. It would actually be better for them to put in $500 in that 3rd pay period, get to advisor, or they're going to actually be losing money, right? So if you don't understand that, I want you to get with the person that got you on this call and go over that pre-qualification report, because that is where you're going to be making the majority of your money. Okay, the next one, we're going to explain how you get paid, the 5 different streams that come in, okay? The first one, retail profits. Okay, so you sign up, you get to advisor, you now have a 40% discount, okay? So if you buy product and then you're selling it at retail, you're making your 40% cut, okay? So that's your retail profit. Wholesale, if you're at 40%, okay, and you sign somebody up at 20%, Advocare is going to send you a check for the difference, okay? Now remember, they can work their way up, all the way up to 30%, and it'll still be wholesale commissions coming under you, so Advocare can send you the difference there, so that's why it has 20 to 10%, okay? The next three depends on if you're doing PGV, which I'm going to explain in a little while, but just keep that in your back pocket. $1,000 PGV is needed in order to get paid on overrides, leadership, and bonus incentives. So as far as overrides go, basically what that is somebody, you sign somebody up, you're at 40%, they now work their way up to 40%, right? So now Advocare doesn't have any money to send you. So what's going to happen is Advocare is actually going to pay you 7% of the business volume that that team under them does, okay? So I'll explain business volume shortly in one of the next slides. Leadership bonuses, now what they're going to do is on top of the overrides, they're actually going to be paying you for pouring into your team. So the more you teach them, the more they're growing, and there's different levels depending on how many people basically you get involved. And again, there's going to be a slide right after that that's going to discuss that, but they pay 3 to 19.5% on top of that 7%, okay? And then incentives, rookie bonuses, they're just paying out what's called a rookie, is somebody that's been, once you get to 40% and you have a year in the business where you basically get paid on bonuses. They're going to take the top 7 distributors that are producing the most volume throughout that pay period, and they pay them out $20,000. And then trips is something that as a new distributor coming through, once you get to advisor, is all your new volume counts towards those trips. Now realize, once you have been in the business for a little while, what happens is you have a team that you have to manage. So you're managing your team, plus you have to bring in new volume. So keep that in mind, that for all the new people out there, you're just focusing on one thing, and that's bringing in new volume, new people, and building a team, which all that goes towards trying to win these trips. Okay, when I was talking about the leadership, this gives the rundown on how you get paid on your leadership bonuses. So if you look at the silver, all these silver, gold, 3-star, ruby, 6-star, ruby, what they represent is how many people. So right now, as far as the pin levels, that might be a little bit foreign to you, but just know the more people that you're helping, the more, if you look down that middle column, that 3% for silver, 2% for gold, 2% for 3-star gold, 2% for ruby, all those start adding up. So they don't just pay out those, they add them all up, and then it also adds on top of your 7% for your overrides. Also, that right next to that column is your average total income. So you can kind of just gauge, depending on what pin level that you're at, how much annually. And this is an average, so it doesn't always mean you could do really well in your retail and your wholesale, and it could bump these up. But this is just kind of the average of your leadership and your overrides, with a small amount of just getting by on your wholesale and retail earnings. This is the rookie bonuses that I was talking about. As you can see, first place through 7th, you're going to have a $6,000 first place. 7th is going to be $1,000. So there's a call that is on our website, advocarebydesign.com, and you can register for the calls and put them in, and you can get a text reminder for all of those. So make sure that you do those, because you want to listen to these. They're pretty exciting. And again, they're all rookies, so it's people that have only been in the business for under a year. And the last incentive trip that I went on, I was talking to a couple of the diamonds, and they said really about 10% of the rookies go for these. And the reason is because you have to be kind of strategic. So know that if you're interested in trying to win these rookie bonuses, you want to get with one of your leaders and really kind of plan this out, because you want to plan out when your mixers are, when you're bringing in your volume, and be kind of strategic about it. And I think we've had over 19 people win different rookie bonuses throughout our group. We actually had a girl last year in 3 months make $26,000 just on the rookie bonuses. So definitely can be done, and a lot of fun for the people that win them. The bonus incentive trips, this is just kind of the last few that they've done. Basically, they run every 6 months. They run from success school to success school, and they're 5-star trips. So if you guys want to know, what that's like, then dig in, and we'll work together. You got to, again, get with the person that introduced you to this, and we'll set you guys up and have a tracker and all that type of thing. So the best way to do this is to really track your progress, so it keeps you working every single pay period. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to actually explain to you in a 90-day period how we can take, starting from scratch, and try to build an $80,000 salary, okay? So I want you to look at the top 3 blue bubbles for now, you being the person that's on the call, and then we're looking for 3 other business people. Now, what I tell people is basically what we're going to do at first is we're trying to go out and we're trying to find 30 customers. And we can go into a whole nother training on this as far as, Spark is one of our introductory products where the people are going to feel it, and it starts a conversation, starts us talking about nutrition and energy and all that type of stuff, which can lead into business. So, so what I always tell my new people is I want you to spark 3 people a day, okay? Law of numbers say out of those 3 people, you're going to get 1 that's interested. And so every day if you're sparking 3 people, 1 is interested, and you do that for 30 days, we're going to come up with 30 customers, okay? Now from there, it's your job to get those people on the line with your sponsor, okay? Because what they're going to do is they're going to start asking them questions. And this business is about asking questions. It's about really digging into what they need, not what we're trying to push on them. And so if we really treat those people well, right, and we start showing them, because you guys are going to learn this, you're going to show them what you're basically what you're looking to do. In 90 days, you're looking for an $80,000 salary. And if you find in those 30 customers, we will find 3 people that want to do the same thing as you. It's pretty easy. So from there, I want you to look at where it says advisor, $1,000 in PGV. Okay. Now, the average person that makes an order in Advocare averages about $79 per purchase. Okay. So if we have 30 customers, if half of those people order $75 worth, we're hitting our 1,000. And if you remember earlier, I told you in order to get paid on overrides and leadership, you have to do your minimum of your 1,000. So that's what we're trying to teach you right off the bat. Okay? So in this example, if we teach you to do that, and then we teach the next line to do their 1,000 and find their 30 customers, right? Each one of these lines is going to represent 30 days. So the first 30 days, you're trying to get your 30 customers and your 3 business builders. The next 30 days, you're pouring into teaching these next 3 people to do the same thing. And then that follows down the line, and they're trying to do the same thing. Meanwhile, while they're getting you on 3-way calls, and it just works its way up. Okay, so basically what you're doing is working in a group of 3. Okay, from there, you can see if we start trying to figure out these numbers, okay, and everybody's doing their 1,000, you go over to the right. Your first line, front line, is going to be doing $3,000 worth. Okay, your second line is going to be doing $9,000 worth. Your third line is where you start really making the money. Okay, that's when it starts really multiplying. So then you got $27,000. Okay, so your total volume for this 2-week pay period is going to be $39,000. Okay, so now what I want to teach you is, remember I told you before, we get paid on BV, business volume. Okay, so how Advocare pays that out is I'm going to round that 39 up to 40,000 just to make it easy. Okay, and what they do is they cut that in half. Okay, so and that's what they pay you on. So you'll get paid on $20,000, which is considered your business volume. Okay, so now let's take this back. That page that we were talking before. Okay, overrides is 7% of your business volume. So 7% of 20,000 is going to be $1,400. Okay, for your leadership, first pin level is going to be silver, okay? In order to do silver, you have to do your 1,000 in PGV, okay? And then your team, which are advisors, because all of these people we're talking are advisors, at least a minimum of one of those advisors or a combination of them has to do $3,000 worth, okay? So if you look at this example, your team did $39,000, so you made that pretty easy. So they're going to pay you 3% on that $20,000. There's another $600. Okay. If we move down to the next pin, gold. Okay. Now gold, same type of thing. Did your team do $15,000? Yes, your team did $39,000. So they're going to pay you an extra 2% on that, $400. Okay. Now is when it becomes when they start looking at how basically your business is planned out. Okay. So if you look up at Jen and Bart and Shay, those are distribution channels. Okay. They start on your front line. And so what Advocare does is they say if those distribution channels produce $3,000 or more, they will be considered a star leg. Okay. So in this example, they all have done that because they've all done 13,000. Okay. So you have 3 star legs, and your total volume is more than 15,000, right? Because it's 39,000. So you're going to get an extra 2%. Ruby is going to be if your team does 30,000 with 3 legs, and then that's an extra 400. So if you add that up, that's $3,200 for your 2-week pay period, $6,400 for your monthly average, and then your yearly income is going to be $76,800. Now remember, that's not taking in consideration your retail and wholesale. Okay, so in this example, your retail or wholesale is a minimum of 1,000. But if in factuality, I always teach people that if you really want your business to continue to grow, you're not just going to scrape by with that 1,000. You're going to try to do 3,000. So that would actually put you up around probably about 90,000 if you were doing 3,000 PGV. In this example, it put you right around, with your 1,000, it put you right around 82,000. Okay, the next thing I just wanted to bring up, this is something that I feel is very important. As a gym owner, and I'd been a nutritionist for 10 years, now 13. I was very good at looking at supplements and really breaking them down. And when I first got into this business, and I decided, and I really looked into Advocare and saw the quality of the supplements and how they made them and the purity and how they tested them and all that stuff, I was very impressed. But you start going out and you start telling people that they should take this product over another product, and they start questioning you product by product and ingredient by ingredient, okay? And at first, I wanted to battle back and forth with them, but the thing is, it doesn't work because they just want to argue and they want to try to prove that they're right. But even if you can prove them wrong, it usually doesn't turn out the best. So talking to the diamonds and talking to people that had been into this business a long time, they have go to this phrase. I don't know a lot about that, but what I do know is, because what we're not trying to do, we're not trying to compare. We know our products are the best out there, but what we need to do is we need to show them what our strong points of our business are and why we think that. It doesn't matter what everybody else does out there. So I still get this all the time where people are asking, well, what about this? Or for an example, the other day, I called a guy and I was talking to him. He was very interested in the products. His wife gets on and she's a pharmacist, pharmaceutical rep. And she starts throwing out all these different things. And I actually knew what I was talking about, and I could have totally fought back and forth with her. But I threw out this phrase. I said, you know, I don't know a lot about that, but what I do know is I know that you know a lot about doctors, and our site, MedBoard, has the top doctors in the world. So why don't you go to our site and check them out? All of a sudden, the line went dead. I mean, she was like, oh, okay. And because what I did basically is I stroked her and said, you know, she has a lot of knowledge. I know she's going to appreciate this knowledge, and I just kind of sent her on her way. And then I was able to talk to her husband. If I would have went back and forth, it just creates a battle. And so basically what I did is I picked out the things that I think are important to put in your bulletproof shield, and so I just want to go through those. First one is informed choice, okay? If you don't know what this is, I want you to look it up. But basically, we test for more banned substances, toxins, and impurities than any other company in the world, okay? We do this so that we can be in all the sports locker rooms. We're actually endorsed by the Olympic Standards Committee, okay? So what that allows us to do is it allows us to be in all the athletes, which the majority of the people that we deal with are not athletes, but if it's good enough for the athlete, it's good enough for the house mom, it's good enough for the weekend warrior, it's good enough for anybody else, because those other people are trying to bring their bodies to peak performance. So if it's good enough to make them the healthiest in the world, it's going to be good enough for everybody else. So I want you to use informed choice a lot. Our doctors, pick a couple of them out and really know them, but Stanley Diedrich is a very good one, right? Because he actually, not only does he have a wing named after him at Yale, but he's been in the industry for a long time, and he was one of the pioneers for inventing the intravenous feeding. So that's something huge that's in every hospital in America. So any doctor is going to, or anybody that knows anything about medical is going to know him. William Kramer, he got the Lifetime Achievement Award, and they actually now name it after him. So we have very prestigious doctors, and make sure you tell people that, because most companies that are out there, they don't have any doctors, or they have somebody right out of school that is basically a yes ma'am, yes type of new guy that's coming in and basically just going to follow the rules of what they want done. And we have doctors that are actually going to go out there and they're going to formulate the best products and the best thing for you. So that's pretty huge. Endorsers. Don't get too stuck on just using sports people, because that's not going to help every single individual. Every single individual does not want to be Drew Brees, right? It helps a lot, but look through there and use other people. For an example, Michael W. Smith. I had a lady that came to me. She was a singer, and she wanted to know how any supplementation that would help her. So actually, Michael W. Smith uses O2 Gold because it helps him utilize oxygen better so he can sing better. So kind of go outside of the box and try to, put people that you can use in different areas of life, not just in the sports world. BioTools. This is one of my favorite ones to use now. And the reason is it was in the top 10 medical findings for 2010 in Time Magazine, the study of epigenetics. And what that is the study of genes and how they react, okay? And so what they're finding now is genetically your genes have functions, and they have almost on and off switches. And over time with pesticides and all kinds of other toxins out there, what happens is they switch off, and the body starts creating inflammation to fight this. And so that's where people start getting osteoporosis and joint pain and all arthritis and all those types of things that basically slow them down and make them feel old. And so when this first came out, I didn't know a lot about it, and I wasn't very interested. And then I started hearing time after time people taking this stuff that were older, that were 50 plus, because it was actually designed for baby boomers, and they were feeling better, and all of a sudden they were out mowing the lawn and cutting trees down and all this stuff. So being a pro bodybuilder, I had really bad knee problems, and just from overuse and tendonitis, and I had tendonitis in my elbows, and every day was a struggle of warming up to try to work out. And so 3 weeks on this stuff, and all of a sudden I start forgetting about my knee pain, forgetting about my elbows, all that stuff. And so now I take it consistently all the time, and I have no problems. And there's athlete after athlete now that I put on that, and just normal people. I mean, think about how many people have knee problems. So use that one. It's a great one. Last one that I wanted to put on there, Dr. Oz to me is just another doctor, and he's not going to be as good as our doctors, but what he brings is credibility. Think about how many people watched Oprah, and when Dr. Oz came on there, and now he has his own show and that type of thing. So what that does is it brings credibility to something we already knew, right? We already know that our products are the top of the line, but he actually went out and tested the top, I think it was 25 supplement lines in the country. And he tested the probiotics and the omegas, and guess what? Ours came out at the top. So use that, because that's going to open the eyes of the majority of the women. They're going to be like, I know Dr. Oz, and that's going to create an opening for you. All right, this is the last thing. Jen wanted me to throw this in, and this is a tracker, okay? Now, as far as the business, and you guys, we're always going to have some kind of goal for you guys, but it's always good to start tracking your own goals. And so we wanted you to start tracking to try to get on leads and leadership for 2 reasons, okay? Leads, what it does is it brings in anytime somebody in the area, because right now Advocare is blowing up, and so a lot of people know about it, are hearing about Advocare, but they don't know where to get it. So they go to advocare.com, and they have to know a distributor in order to order. So they put their area code in, and guess what? The people from the leads pop up, and so then they contact them. And so as we get more and more popular, this is going to become a great tool, okay? So this goes through the criteria. It's quarterly, so you have 6 pay periods, okay? Most of them are 2 weeks long. That's January 4th through April 3rd. You have to have your Success School ticket in order to be on the leads. You have to have 3 frontline new recruits in between that time period, okay? And then you have to be a silver pin earner for 3 of the 6 pay periods, okay? So what is silver? Silver is you doing your 1,000 PGV and having an advisor or more under you that is producing at least $3,000, okay? So that's your first goal right there, okay? Second one is leadership. You want to be in leadership because you get more training. You come to Success School a day early, and the amount of schooling you get is a whole nother level, okay? So what a lot of you guys just went to, it's amazing, and it gets people fired up. But if you want to take this business to the next level, you want to be educated on the next level, and so you want to get into leadership, okay? So again, signing up for Success School, you have to have a new frontline advisor during that qualification period, okay? So getting somebody to $3,000, like we talked about. And then your overrides have to total $3,000. So there's a tracker on there, and you can consistently track that. So that is the end of our webinar. And you guys, what I want to say, I guess, in closing is the best way to do this business is to use your team and to tap into the system, okay? Everything that we do is a created system, and it has to be duplicatable, because you could be the best in the world, but if you can't create a team that is also going to duplicate what you're doing, you're never going to grow. And so get with the person that got you on here, and have a good night.